Hey guys, Sweetshins here, and I hope you're all so sweet. Because what I want to talk about today is, well, with gameplay lately, like with that game coming out, that came out, sorry, Beyond Two Souls. I just wanted to talk about if people think it is more important to have narrative or gameplay. Like, I haven't got Beyond Two Souls, because I don't own a PS3, so sorry about that. But that game is so heavily focused on narrative, and I've seen like a lot of reviews saying you just feel like a bystander, just basically pressing the button for the next cutscene. But I've been watching PewDiePie play it, and to be honest, if I had a PS3 I would buy that game, because I do think it looks really interesting. And just because like the gameplay maybe like it's eating or drinking, I think you're still interacting with that character. So it's like, how can I explain it? So you're still empathising with the character because you're the one going through it with them. Still build that relationship. So when you're playing Jodie in like Beyond Two Souls, and you're like pressing the buttons, I don't know, to go to sleep, I've seen, and you can shoot guns at some point, but you're still making that choice in a way, because there's choices in the game, to pull that trigger, and you've put that character through it. So it's different in the sense where, like in an RPG, you would create your own character, and you probably just say you have to pick a text of what they say. You would imagine a voice, so that's more feels like you, but you're more directing a character themselves. So you're going on the journey with them instead. So I think it can be heavily focused on narrative with gameplay, but with that, I do think, because if gameplay's fun, it keeps you going. It like for example, me and my friends, we played Call of Duty, Halo, and I'm just gonna say, I know it's a game, I know, but I've had some of the best times ever playing those games online, like the funniest times ever, because it's not that there's a story there, but you kind of create your own story in a way, because you're just playing with your friends and that, and like you'd be doing funny things and then trying to do stunts who can get the most kills. It's just all different stuff, and like something could happen. So the story kind of creates itself through the gameplay, if you get what I'm saying. But you do get games that have like really fun gameplay but not a good story, and the best example I can think of, people are probably going to disagree, is GTA 4, not 5, I'm talking about number 4. I thought the gameplay was like really fun in that, but the story was boring as shit. I was just like pressing that control and just thinking, I cannot be arsed with this shit. But then when I played online, it just created another dynamic, like another game itself, because I had so much fun online, but single player I just found to be dry as anything. It was just like going at a snail pace. I still think GTA 4 was a really good game, but I'm just saying about the narrative. Like, but that's just my point right there. The narrative doesn't actually have to be good for you to think it's a good game. I mean, you play Modern Warfare. Loads of people play Modern Warfare. Come on, the story's nothing to rave over, but everyone plays online because the gameplay is so fun. So you don't have. You can have one lacking with one stronger, like better gameplay but less narrative. You still have just as much fun. It's like with Final Fantasies, the old like Final Fantasy X I can think of. The gameplay was good, don't get me wrong, but I'm not really into that turn-based strategy stuff. But the story in that game was just amazing. It pushed me forward constantly. I didn't mind the gameplay, but I didn't find it that fun. But where the story was so strong, I wanted to continue, and I still rate that as one of my best games of all time. And a game I want to come on to, the studio, Telltale Studios. I just finished playing The Wolf Among Us, and just looking at that game, like, it's the same with The Walking Dead actually, because they did that game as well, but the gameplay, it is really fun, even though you don't do that much. And when you think of the story, like, let's just say The Walking Dead, because I don't want to spoil The Wolf Among Us, like, the story of that is just to survive a zombie apocalypse, but it's the characters really that drive you forward and you start to care for. So, and like the game, like there's this scene in The Walking Dead, I don't really want to ruin it, but it's episode 2, and you're on the farm, and you've got the hillbillies who eat people, the cannibals, and the guy goads you on to kill him, and Lee's got a pitchfork, and you just press the button. That's all you do. You don't, you didn't walk around and pick it up. He picked it up, and you decide whether to stab him or not. And he goads you on, and in the moment with all the music and that, you press that button, and it stabs the guy. But then Clementine sees it, and it says she'll remember this incident. She goes, "Oh no, no, no!" Like she can't believe that you've just killed someone. And then you're immediately thinking, "Oh why did I do that? I should not have killed him. Like I didn't know she was there." But that powerful moment just come from pressing one button. But that was still gameplay. It was just put perfectly in context with the story. And it's the same with The Wolf Among Us. Like I said, I'm not going to ruin it, but at the end there's like a fight scene. And although the gameplay is like you move the cursor over and you press RT to like grab an object, basically to interact with it more, better speaking. But where Bigby, the main character, was getting attacked and was getting beaten, I was like frantically pressing those things. I was like, come on, I've got to get this, I've got to pick this up and help him out. Because I cared for Bigby. Sorry, lights, computer screen went off. I cared for Bigby so much, and that's what Telltale's so good at, creating good characters. Because the first episode is only like 2 hours, but I really like Bigby. So it made me evoke a response where I'm like, even though probably I couldn't move that cursor any further, I was digging my thumb in that analog stick to try and get it to the object so I could help Bigby out. And that's like more an example of how that story of with the characters and where the story's good it made the gameplay seem better than it was. Because if we just break it down, the gameplay, yeah, move a cursor over an object to interact, that just seems, if you told that to someone, they'd be like, that sounds really boring. But where it's got the story combined with it, like it evokes emotional response. So when you're doing it, it feels so much better than it does. Like when I was punching the guy with Bigby, just pressing RT, LT, it's the only thing you could do. You just had to press it, and I was just like bang, 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 bang. And it just felt good. I felt powerful doing it because Bigby was like the stronger guy, and it just felt really fucking awesome. So like going back to Beyond Two Souls, like so many reviewers give it like 6 out of 10 because there's this saying it's basically like a movie, and a lot of people saying you can't call this a game, but you still can because you are interacting with that character. I understand the problem is with some games, let's say you have choices, they all lead to one outcome, so it doesn't feel like your choice matters. Whereas like if the gameplay is just pressing one button, it decides to do something. So if you press it, you go down a completely different route. If you don't press it, you go down another route. Then I think you can consider that gameplay, that is. But if it just goes to the same point, like if people have played, is it Asura's Wrath? That game is a bloody film. Just press a bloody button. That is all that is in a way. Even though you do get some fight scenes, but it's mainly just quick time events and just going email. You're mainly just going along with what they want. All they wanted to do is tell a story, but they're just putting it into game context. Where I think it's unfair with Beyond Two Souls, because I understand what that David Cage is trying to do. He wants to tell stories and that, but he wants to still do it gameplay. Because if you look at GameSpot's review, Tom McShea, I think he reviewed it, and he said like there's this scene where you're eating dinner and that, and it's such a simple thing, but I thought this is really cool. And it's like it's an awkward situation. You shouldn't really be there, but you're eating someone else's food. Like, what the fuck was that? Sorry, but you're eating food with a family who don't really want you there, and like you just got to like sort of make that choice. Like, should I? Because it's sort of like buffet style. Like you take your steak and that. So should I take a steak from the plate and put it on mine? Should I start eating yet? Should I wait for them to start eating? Should I wait for them to give me something? And just all that just in one scene. Come on, that is pretty powerful. That's such a simple thing, yet you still feel like you're on edge. Like I don't know what to do. Should I do it or not? And it's over food. It's not like you have to put a gun to someone's head. I know this is kind of getting away from the subject which I started in the first place, but going to RPGs like Dragon Age Origins, that game is amazing. That's a game that I'd say had great story and good gameplay, and combined together, like kind of, some of you will disagree, and I can totally understand that. But you had, like, you started off quite weak in a way, it's like gameplay wise. But you get stronger, you buy better gear, you buy better armour and stuff, bloody blah blah, level up. But the story intensifies as your character like gets stronger and stronger. So you feel like there's a parallel. I don't know how to explain it. You just, it goes well hand in hand. The story mixes with the gameplay fine. It's like tactical, but it's like at the same pace, and it's hard to explain because I wouldn't say the story is any stronger than the gameplay. They both bounce off each other in the sense that when you kill them Darkspawn, you feel like, yeah, I'm actually making impact to get to the story. You don't feel like, oh, go kill these, next cutscene, blah, 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 blah. You feel like you want to kill these, and when you get the story, it's like, oh, so you feel happy to do both. Whereas with some games, you can be like, oh, fuck this game's so boring. But then you like the story, like Final Fantasy 13, I think that's one to bloody say. Like, you're just basically running cutscene to cutscene with some battles. So you could, like that, there's games like that, in my opinion, that could be a movie. Because there's no need for the gameplay in that. Gameplay, it could be fun, but it just doesn't, fucking computer, sorry. It doesn't feel in sync with the story. Like, it makes no difference. I could just watch all the cutscenes and get the story perfectly. I literally just felt like I was just getting through that to get to the next cutscene. That was it. Nothing at all. Whereas with Dragon Age Origins, going back to that, like, where you cared for the characters, like to say, I know, Alistair was getting hurt or something, I'd be like, oh fuck no! And I'd be like running over, charging, taking that Darkspawn, or one of them would save me. And like, I'd be about to die, they would like shield bash and kill the Darkspawn off me, and I'd be like, oh thank you. And you just feel like you care for that character a bit more. You feel like, oh, we've been through struggles throughout this game has been hard. So when the story comes and like you'll finish it and you complete it, you're like, fuck yeah, I did it. And you sort of remember all them hard battles, and you think, oh yeah, I remember that moment where he helped me and then I had to help him because he was just about to die, but we saved him just in time. And you just get all that good nostalgia about you, of all the good memories. Whereas with Final Fantasy, it was just literally shit. But I don't want to go on too much about Final Fantasy, because they are good games, don't get me wrong. Yeah, but I know this game isn't even out, or I don't even know if it ever will come out, but Final Fantasy 13 Versus, which is now going to be 14, I'll get up a little image or something so you can see what I'm talking about, and that's actually changed the gameplay to real-time strategy. And I was just like, fuck for that, finally. It's a story in them games, characters to like leap from walls, do backflips, slash up, magic blast. But then the gameplay's all slow, but now they've sped it up. I'm going to feel so much more involved in that story because I'm doing what they can do in them cutscenes. I'm doing all this awesome shit, and I feel more part of the main character now than I did by turn-basing it just to get to a cutscene. Because now I feel like, oh yeah, I did that move on a character earlier. Oh, you had these battles where you was doing all this awesome shit, and now the cutscene. So it feels like it flows continuously instead of being broken up into, oh, turn-based, this is really slow. Yeah, the cutscene, bam, 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 the fastest action shit you've ever seen in your life. So yeah, I can't wait for that game. But going back to this, I'm going off on a tangent at the moment, but going back to the point of story and gameplay, when a story is the main priority of the game, the only problem is with that, it's only got, you can only play it once basically, and that's it. Like, I think, I don't want to keep using it, but Beyond Two Souls is like 8 hours long. Sorry. And once you've played that, it's kind of like, yeah, you know, if that story didn't have a really good impact on you, you got to think, was it really worth paying £40 or like $60 for that one game? Whereas with gameplay, something like Skyrim, for example, some people, I know people that played that for like over 100 hours. And like Call of Duty as well, I had a friend, and honestly, when I was back at school, he had over 30 days playtime on that. I was like, oh my god. But look how long of a lasting effect that had. He loved it, and he got his money worth for that, definitely. But then with going back to Final Fantasy X, I'm very sorry, with that, I think that took me like 3 months to complete, and I didn't play that quite slow either. That just felt like an incredibly long game. But that's probably because of the gameplay, because I kept fucking dying on the bosses and had to level up. But that stuck with me, and I did, like, I've not recently, but like a few years ago, played that again, and it just felt just as good, because you kind of forgetting the story and you play it again, you're like, oh yeah, this is this bit, oh, this is sick, this is awesome. So whereas when you've played a game just for the gameplay and you go back to it, it's not as good as you remember it to be, because there's now better games out there that have developed and come off this gameplay, and you just can't really get back into it. Not with all games. Some games you can go back and think, oh, this is sick, but you just can't get back into it. So yeah, just to wrap this up, I just wanted to make this quick because it's just been bugging me, and I've kind of gone on a complete tangent. I didn't really have any structure to this, but what do you think? Do you think narrative is more important or gameplay? Well, what do you play the game for? Do you play for the gameplay or the narrative? Personally, I like to play for the narrative, because so many games come out now and it's the same gameplay and it just bores me. It just feels like, I've been here, done this, blah 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 blah. But if a game has great story, I don't think the story has to be, no, it does have to be strong, and the gameplay can be weaker in my opinion, but you can still carry on it. But if it's got fantastic gameplay, then you're in for a real treat. But like I say, with online gaming now, you can have months of fun. Like GTA Online, so many funny things happen in that game, even though you don't play it for the story. It's like basically create your own story just through the gameplay. So it's kind of like a rhetorical question in a way, something that can never really be answered, because they both bounce off each other and they can both evoke the same emotional responses of like anger, happiness, caring for someone, stuff like that. So in a way, it just depends if the story's good or if the gameplay's good, and I think it's as simple as that. Okay guys, I'm just gonna cut it now because I've just gone on an absolute tangent. So anyway guys, stay sweet.